Welcome to Duo Reads, where we decode deep ideas and break down big books, one page at a time. Today, we're cracking open a book that really challenges how we think about productivity, about success even. It's Greg McKeown's Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. You know that feeling, right? Constantly busy, feeling totally overwhelmed, ticking off endless tasks. But at the end of the day, you're kind of left wondering if you actually moved the needle on what truly matters. McKeown offers this, counterintuitive but really powerful approach. The disciplined pursuit of doing less but doing it better.
Exactly. And this isn't just, another chat about time management tricks or how to cram more stuff into your day. It's more fundamental. It's a basic shift in how you approach, everything. The core promise is pretty straightforward. If you embrace this essentialist mindset, you basically empower yourself to operate at your highest point of contribution by focusing only on what's absolutely essential. It's about being really deliberate with your energy, your time.
Right. And for you listening, our mission today is to really pull apart this framework. By the end of this discussion, you should have a clearer roadmap, hopefully, to figure out what truly matters in your own life, and then, confidently shed the rest, the non-essential stuff, and start making intentional living feel, almost effortless. So, get ready to maybe rethink your defaults. So where do we start? McKeown paints a pretty stark picture of what he calls the non-essentialist way of life. He gives this example of an executive, Sam Elliott. Sam found himself just completely stretched thin after his company got acquired. He was earnest, eager to please, and basically ended up saying yes to almost everything without really thinking it through.
Yeah, and the result, he was just rushing from meeting to meeting, trying to be everywhere at once, feeling this constant kind of unsatisfying stress. And his work quality, it actually declined. McKeown has that great phrase for it. Sam was effectively majoring in minor activities. Have you ever felt like that?
Oh, totally. It's incredibly relatable, isn't it?
It really is. And Sam's story, it leads right into what McKeown calls the paradox of success. It's like this four-phase cycle we can easily fall into. Phase one, you've got real clarity of purpose, right? That helps you succeed. Think of like a focused startup.
Makes sense.
But then phase two, that success gets you a reputation. You become the go-to person, always reliable.
Right. The one everyone relies on.
Which naturally leads to phase three. Suddenly, boom, an explosion of options, opportunities, which is really just a nice way of saying more demands on your time and energy. You get spread thinner and thinner.
Uh-oh.
And that, tragically leads to phase four. Your efforts become so diffused, you lose the very clarity that brought you success in the first place. You undermine your highest contribution. Jim Collins talks about this too, in How the Mighty Fall, that undisciplined pursuit of more is a key reason things fail. It applies to us as individuals just as much as companies.
It's fascinating how deep this runs. Even in our language, you see it when he talks about the myth of having it all. McKeown points out the word priority. It entered English way back like the 1400s, and for 500 years it was singular. It literally meant the very first or prior thing, the one first thing.
Just one.
Exactly. But somewhere in the 1900s, we pluralized it. Suddenly we're talking about priorities. Like you can somehow have multiple first things at once. You hear it constantly in meetings, right? Okay, team, we've got pri 1, pri 2, pri 3, pri 4, pri 5. And nobody even blinks.
Without a hint of irony.
Yeah. And that's why we feel this constant stress, this feeling of being perpetually overscheduled. We're chasing multiple firsts.
It's almost like our lives turn into these, cluttered closets if we don't actively manage them. McKeown uses that analogy. Imagine your closet if you never clear it out. It just gets stuffed with clothes you don't wear, things that don't fit anymore. New demands are like new clothes just being shoved in daily. You might start your day with a plan, but by 10 a.m., you're totally off track, dealing with urgent but maybe not essential stuff.
Right.
Or you make a to-do list, and somehow it's even longer by 5 p.m.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Right. Essentialism, though, it gives you a system to manage this, to keep your life's closet organized, filled only with what truly matters.
Okay, so if saying yes all the time and taking on more actually leads to less clarity, less impact, what's the core shift? What's the thinking behind essentialism? How do we break that cycle?
That's the key question, isn't it? The core logic of an essentialist. It's not about adding one more thing to your plate. It's a completely different way of doing everything, a fundamental shift in how you approach every decision, every commitment you make.
And right at the heart of that shift is what McKeown calls the invincible power of choice. He talks about learned helplessness, drawing on those classic psychology experiments, Seligman and Mayer with the German Shepherds.
Shock experiments.
Exactly. They found the dogs who couldn't control the negative stimulus, the shocks, eventually just gave up, even when they could escape later. They sort of forgot they had a choice. McKeown argues we humans can fall into that exact same trap. We forget we always have the power to choose how we respond, where we put our focus, what we say yes or no to.
Yeah, reclaiming that agency, building on that choice, an essentialist learns to discern. Basically, the idea that practically everything is unimportant. Think about Boxer, the horse in Orwell's Animal Farm. His answer to every single problem was just, I will work harder.
Right, just brute force effort.
And it led to his downfall. He just worked himself to death, basically. Contrast that with, say, the power law concept you see in business. Nathan Myhrvold, former CTO at Microsoft, he made this point that the top software developers aren't just 10 times better than average. They can be like 10,000 times more productive.
Wow, 10,000 times.
Yeah. It illustrates McKeown's idea perfectly. Almost everything is worthless, but very few things are exceptionally valuable. Essentialists don't just work harder, they hunt for those vital few things, and they're actually eager to ditch the trivial many.
Which leads right into such a critical concept, trade-offs. Asking yourself, which problem do I want? Michael Porter, the strategy guru, he famously said, strategy is about making choices, trade-off. It's about deliberately choosing to be different.
Exactly. Strategy is trade-offs.
McKeown uses some great examples. Southwest Airlines is a classic. Herb Kelleher, their leader, he deliberately chose point-to-point flights, no meals, no assigned seats, coach only. Every single one was a conscious trade-off, all designed to keep costs super low and build this really clear, successful, low-cost model. Even if it meant some customers who wanted frills went elsewhere, they chose their problem.
They knew who they were serving. And you see the danger when companies try to, straddle strategies, as Porter called it. Continental Light tried this. They copied some Southwest tactics, lower fares, no meals, but they kept their old, more complex model for other flights.
So kind of half in, half out?
Exactly. And it didn't work. They lacked Southwest's efficiency. Service quality suffered elsewhere. They lost money. The trade-offs weren't part of a coherent plan. They were just forced compromises that weakened them.
Another really powerful example of clear trade-offs, especially under pressure, is Johnson & Johnson during that Tylenol crisis back in '82. 7 people died from tampered capsules. It was a nightmare scenario. Should they recall everything, focus on PR, help the families?
So many competing pressures.
Right. But luckily, they had their credo written way back in 1943, and it literally lists priorities: customers first, shareholders last. That essential clarity let them make a fast, decisive, and very expensive $100 million decision to recall everything, prioritizing safety over short-term profit. That's clarity in action.
And it shows this isn't just for big companies. McKeown brings it down to personal decisions, too. He mentions those Harvard parents who decided early on their son's goal was Harvard, so they made strategic trade-offs with his activities. If something wasn't going to be his big thing, they discussed it, pulled him out, kept the focus. Or the couple who consciously opted out of joining lots of clubs, they chose to prioritize that time with their kids instead. And those kids ended up becoming their best friends. Essentialists don't see trade-offs just as painful sacrifices. They ask, what do I want to go big on? That reframing changes everything.
It's like that kind of darkly funny but pointed 4-burner stove analogy.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
You imagine a stove. One burner for family, one for friends, one for health, one for work. The saying goes, be successful, you have to turn off one burner. And to be really successful, you have to turn off 2. It's stark, maybe uncomfortable, but it drives home the point that you just can't max everything out all the time. Okay, so we get the mindset. Choose deliberately, discern what's vital, embrace trade-offs. But how do we actually do essentialism? How do we put it into practice? McKeown says it starts with explore finding those vital few things among all the noise. And a huge part of that is creating space to concentrate.
That feels almost revolutionary today, doesn't it?
It really does. He tells this story about an executive who is so constantly interrupted, he literally checked into a motel with no internet for 8 weeks just to finish a major project.
Wow. Extreme.
And Sir Isaac Newton famously spent 2 years basically in solitary confinement to write his Principia Mathematica. It shows the incredible power of deep, uninterrupted thought. Even Jeff Weiner, the CEO of LinkedIn, he schedules up to 2 hours of just blank space on his calendar every day, broken into 30-minute chunks, nothing scheduled. He calls it his most valuable productivity tool.
It is powerful because our modern lives, they're so full of gadgets they've almost killed boredom, haven't they? And with it, that quiet time for reflection. When was the last time you were truly just bored, sitting and thinking without reaching for your phone?
It's rare, frighteningly rare.
Right. Even Bill Gates takes his famous Think Week, goes off-grid just to read and think deeply. McKeown suggests building a sort of mini Think Week into every day. Maybe just reading classic literature stuff written before we were all hyper-connected for 20 minutes each morning. It challenges your assumptions, broadens your view.
Once you've carved out that space, the next step is really seeing what matters. He calls this look. See what really matters. He mentions Nora Ephron, the writer, crediting her journalism teacher for drilling into her the importance of finding the lead, the absolute core of the story, the why, what, when, who, getting straight to the essential info, ruthless distillation.
And if we don't develop that skill, well, we risk becoming like the crew of Eastern Airlines Flight 401. Back in 1972, that plane crashed. Over 100 people died.
Yeah.
And the plane itself, perfectly fine.
So what happened?
The crew got totally fixated on a tiny detail, a landing gear indicator light that wasn't working right. And while they obsessed over that minor thing, they completely lost track of the big picture, their altitude.
Oh my God.
It was a chilling lesson, fixating on minor details instead of the vital few. McKeown suggests journaling as a way to spot the trends in your own life, to find your own lead, connect the important dots.
Sometimes, though, to really see, you have to get out into the field. McKeown tells that amazing story about the Embrace Nest. A student team was tasked with designing a baby incubator for just 1% of the usual cost.
Huge challenge.
Yeah. They first assumed it was just a cost problem, but then they went to Nepal, they talked to people, saw the reality, and they discovered the real essential problem wasn't the incubator cost, it was the lack of reliable electricity in rural homes.
So the fancy incubator wouldn't even work there reliably.
Exactly. That insight led them to a completely different solution.
Yeah.
A non-electric, portable, life-saving warmer. They clarified the actual problem by getting out there.
Which underscores the power of clarifying the question. He tells another story about a Salesforce.com team. They were stuck in this huge, messy debate, going nowhere, until the leader just stopped them and asked, wait, what question are you actually trying to answer right now?
Simple, but powerful.
Totally. That pause, that clarification, it just unlocked everything. They refocused, nailed the simulation one big. Without a clear question, effort just scatters.
And it's not all serious, focused work either. McKeown makes a strong case that play and sleep are absolutely essential practices, too.
Yes, often the first things to go when we get busy.
Right. But play, he argues, it actually expands our minds, boosts creativity. It's when we're most flexible in our thinking. And sleep, well, it's just non-negotiable for peak performance. Bill Clinton famously blamed sleep deprivation for his biggest mistakes.
I remember reading that.
And there's that study on top violinists. They slept 8.6 hours a night on average, plus took naps, nearly 3 hours of naps a week. It massively improved their concentration. McKeown shares a personal story about Jeff, an entrepreneur who basically burned himself out, had anxiety attacks, until he learned the hard way to protect the asset, his own health and energy, by finally prioritizing sleep.
So important. Okay, so you've explored, you've seen what matters. The next big step is select. The power of extreme criteria. Derek Sievers, the entrepreneur, he has that famous rule, hell yeah or no.
Love that.
Right. If you don't feel total, absolute conviction about an opportunity, the answer has to be no. And that applies to big life choices and small daily decisions.
It ties right into his 90% rule, which is if an opportunity, or maybe even someone you're thinking of hiring, isn't a solid 9 or 10 out of 10 on your essential criteria, it's a no.
It's tough, but makes sense.
Yeah, because the core idea is that good enough, maybe a 7 or 8, is actually the enemy of finding the truly great, the truly essential. Saying yes to the pretty good means you might miss the absolutely amazing.
You see this discipline in action. He mentions Vitso, the furniture company. For decades, basically one product.
Yeah.
Their 606 shelving system. Oh. Because it meets their extreme standard.
Wow, that's focus.
Or Nancy Duarte's agency. They specialized almost entirely in presentations work other firms kind of hated, but by going deep on that niche, they became the best in the world. He also tells about Enric, the National Geographic explorer. Said no to lots of good projects, waiting patiently for the truly essential one, his dream job diving in pristine locations.
So how do we apply this?
McKeown actually gives a process. Write down the opportunity, list 3 minimum criteria it must meet, then list 3 extreme criteria, the ideal conditions. If it fails any of the minimums, it's a no. If it fails 2 out of 3 of the extremes, it's still a no. It forces that selectivity.
Okay, that's practical. Now we hit what might be the toughest part for many people. Eliminate. Actively cutting out the trivial many.
Yeah, this is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
It's not enough just to know what's non-essential. You have to actively get rid of it. And he gives us that killer question to cut through the biases.
Yeah.
If I didn't already own this opportunity or wasn't already involved in this project, how much would I be willing to sacrifice or pay to get it?
Ooh, that's good. Because we get attached, right?
Totally. It cuts through sunk cost bias, throwing good money after bad just because you already invested. And the endowment effect, we just overvalue stuff because it's ours, like that coffee mug study.
Right. So a big part of eliminating well is to clarify. One decision that makes 1,000. Think about vague corporate mission statements versus something really concrete. He contrasts some generic ones with Brad Pitt's Make It Right Foundation after Katrina.
Ah, yes, the Lower Ninth Ward project.
Exactly. Their goal was super specific. Build 150 affordable, green, storm-resistant homes for families living in the Lower Ninth Ward. That clarity is tangible, inspiring. It makes decisions easier down the line.
Whereas unclear purpose, McKeown says, leads to dysfunction. Either people start playing politics, focusing on looking good instead of doing good, or you get that it's all good mentality where nothing is prioritized, efforts diffuse, and nothing meaningful gets done.
Which leads to the need to dare. The power of a graceful no. This is huge.
It really is. And he uses Rosa Parks as an example. Her no on that bus wasn't just being difficult. It came from deep conviction. We often avoid saying no because, well, it feels awkward. We don't want to disappoint people. It's uncomfortable.
Definitely.
But McKeown reframes it brilliantly. You can say no and maybe feel awkward for a few minutes, or you can say yes and potentially regret it for days, weeks, even years.
That puts it in perspective.
He tells that story about Cynthia's father, who stuck to their planned family date, even when his boss pressured him hard to work. That's conviction.
So how do we actually say no without burning bridges?
He gives a whole toolkit. Sometimes it's a no, but like, I'm swamped with Project X right now, but maybe I can help once that's done.
Okay.
Or a simple, clear, I'm honored you asked, but I can't right now. Even just saying, let me check my calendar and get back to you, buys you time to think.
Nice time, yeah.
A really powerful one for dealing with requests from superiors is, yes, I can do that. What current task should I deprioritize to make space for it? Puts the trade-off back on them.
Oh, I like that one.
You can use humor, offer alternatives. I can't, but maybe X could help. Be clear about what you are willing to do. You are welcome to X, I am willing to Y. It's about being respectful but firm.
Okay, saying no. What about stuff we're already committed to? That leads to uncommitting. Win big by cutting your losses.
Exactly. Think of the Concorde jet. Technologically amazing, but a financial disaster for decades. Why? Because the governments involved kept pouring money in, trapped by sunk cost bias.
They couldn't let go of the past investment.
Precisely. We do this personally too. The endowment effect makes us overvalue things we own. Fear of waste makes us stick with something bad just because we paid for it, like that ski trip example.
Yeah.
The antidote, again, is that sharp question. If I didn't already have this commitment, how much would I sacrifice to get it now?
Really forces you to reevaluate.
It does. And it means tackling status quo bias, our tendency to just keep doing things the way we've always done them. The solution: apply zero-based budgeting to your time. Start from scratch. Does every current commitment still earn its place?
Like Marie Kondo for your schedule.
Kind of. You can even run a reverse pilot test, removing an activity or initiative. Does performance actually improve without it? Sometimes subtraction is addition.
This all flows beautifully into Eat It, the invisible art. I love this analogy.
Me too. Film editing is often overlooked, right? But McKeown points out that since 1981, every Best Picture Oscar winner was also nominated for Best Editing.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Think of Michael Kahn, Spielberg's editor. His job is ruthless elimination of the non-essential so the essential parts shine. That's what great editing does.
So how does that apply to life?
4 principles. Cut. Be ruthless in eliminating. Condense. Do more with less. Like Graham Hill's tiny, life-edited apartment where everything has multiple functions. Or turning a rambling 2-hour meeting into a focused 10-minute update.
Okay, cut. Condense.
Correct. Acknowledge mistakes quickly and learn from them. Don't double down. And, crucially, edit less, know when not to chime in. Resist hitting reply all. Resist adding your 2 cents just because you can. Sometimes the best edit is no edit.
Restraint. Got it. And the last part of eliminate?
Limit. Boundaries are a source of liberation. This seems counterintuitive, but think about that school playground analogy.
Right, the fence.
Yeah. Before the fence, kids huddled near the building, afraid to go too far.
Yeah.
After the fence, they used the whole playground freely and confidently. The boundary created freedom. Clear boundaries do the same for us. McKeown suggests creating clear social contracts with colleagues. What are the expectations? What work will you take on? What won't you? Setting limits up front prevents you from getting bogged down by other people's non-essential stuff.
Yeah.
It protects your focus.
Okay, so we've explored, selected, and eliminated. Now for the final piece, execute, doing the vital few things almost effortless.
Exactly. This is where you make it sustainable, where the discipline starts to feel, well, less like discipline and more like flow.
And it starts with building in a buffer, the unfair advantage.
Yes. Think of Joseph in the Bible story, saving Egypt from famine. How? By creating a buffer storing grain during the good years.
Planning ahead.
Precisely. We all know Parkinson's law work expands to fill the time available. Non-essentialists often plan for the best-case scenario.
Guilty.
We all are sometimes. But essentialists build in buffers. McKeown mentions a workshop leader who scheduled a full hour for Q&A, not just 10 minutes. It made the whole thing feel relaxed, unhurried. Or the mom who packed for a trip a week early.
Less last-minute panic.
Exactly. It's about extreme preparation. Think Amundsen versus Scott racing to the South Pole. Amundsen planned for everything, built in massive buffers. Scott hoped for the best. We know how that ended. You can use scenario planning. Ask yourself, what could go wrong? What are the risks? And build in safeguards. Add 50% to your time estimates.
Good practical tip. Then there's subtract CT, bring forth more by removing obstacles.
This comes from that great business book, The Goal. The key to fixing the failing factory wasn't adding more resources. It was finding and removing the bottleneck, the constraint, the slowest hiker in the group.
Right. Find what's holding things back.
Essentialists do that. Instead of just pushing harder or adding more stuff, they make a one-time investment to remove the root obstacle. He mentions the Richmond police shifting from just reacting to crime to issuing positive tickets, proactively addressing the causes of crime. Remove the constraint and the whole system flows better.
Makes sense. Then we have progress. The power of small wins.
Yeah, this combats perfectionism and procrastination. Think Silicon Valley. Done is better than perfect, or the minimal viable product concept.
Get something out there, learn, iterate.
Exactly. Apply that to your own work as minimal viable progress. Just start small to build momentum. Pixar uses storyboards, low-cost ways to test ideas quickly. McKeown suggests just spending 4 minutes, literally 4 minutes, to start outlining that big presentation you're dreading. Get the ball rolling.
Small steps, big momentum, leads nicely into FLOW, the genius of routine.
Absolutely. Michael Phelps, the swimmer, he had this incredibly detailed pre-race routine. Why? Because routines make complex, difficult things feel easier, almost automatic.
Takes the thinking out of it.
Pretty much. Routines shift the work to the basal ganglia, our brain's habit center. That frees up your conscious mind, your prefrontal cortex, for creativity, problem-solving, innovation. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the flow guy, he found highly creative people often rely on very strict routines. It gives them the mental space they need. Jack Dorsey, founder of Twitter and Square, he famously had themed days for his week to maintain focus.
Find your routine, unlock your focus. Which brings us to the last point. Faux CF. What's important now?
This ties it all together. McKeown uses the example of a rugby coach, Larry Gelwicks. He trains his players to focus only on the current play. Not the mistake they just made, not the worry about the final score, just this. Play now.
Be present.
Completely. It keeps them unified, executing smoothly. He contrasts losing because the other team was just better versus losing because you lost focus. The ancient Greeks had 2 words for time. Chronos, just clock time passing, and kairos, the opportune moment, the right time, the quality of the moment. Essentialists learn to live in kairos, to be fully present and engaged in what's important right now, not like that distracted person McKeown saw texting seriously while someone was trying to talk to them about a job.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered the mindset, exploring, eliminating, and executing essentialism. It really is clear this isn't just, a few tips, it's a deep shift. What really strikes you most, reflecting on all this?
I think what's most powerful is that, fundamentally, essentialism is a choice. And it's not a one-time choice. It's a continuous process. It's not like you reach peak essentialist and you're done. Every day, every decision is a chance to practice. And each time you choose the essential, you eliminate the non-essential, it gets a little easier, more ingrained, more effortless. It really is the way out of that paradox of success loop we started with. It's how you reclaim control.
McKeown shares that personal story too, right? Applying only to Stanford for grad school, saying no to other things, and feeling this sense of calm and focus, even with the uncertainty. That's the kind of freedom this approach offers. The potential benefits are huge. More clarity, definitely. A real reordering of what you value. And ultimately, the ability to make your highest, most meaningful contribution.
Yeah. The core question he leaves us with is pretty direct, isn't it? It's a challenge, really.
Hmm.
Are you ready to commit to the way of the essentialist?
So maybe something to think about this week as you go about things. What's the one truly essential step, maybe a small one you'll commit to taking today, to start your own disciplined pursuit of less so you can make your highest contribution?